The Albanese government has become the joke of the internet, with businesses, large and small, lashing out against its changes to capital gains tax. And families are terrified about changes to trusts that amount to nothing less than a death tax. What should have happened in this federal budget is simple. Ministers should have made tough decisions to cut spending across every portfolio. Former Prime Minister and Treasurer Paul Keating has spoken about how exactly he did this in the 80s. He said, with my colleagues Peter Walsh and John Dawkins, and supported in the Expenditure Review Committee by Brian Howe and Ralph Willis, we set about dramatically reducing government spending. It took 4 exhausting years to do, program by program, department by department, while the terms of trade shock followed the fundamental reform of the tax system the previous year, 1985, very large income tax cuts, capital gains, fringe benefits, company tax cuts, imputation, etc. He says the changes set Australia up for 30 years of low inflation growth, the income surge that has since made Australia one of the wealthiest countries in the world. And now the opposite is happening. Taxes are rising, and it risks making Australia one of the worst countries in the world for business. Albanese government ministers should have done the same as Keating's team did back then. They should have significantly cut spending to lower inflation and fuel growth. But instead of asking their own ministers to swallow a tough pill, Labor has deliberately hurt ordinary Australians. And this at a time when families are already doing it so tough. High petrol prices, rising inflation pushing up the cost of everything from butter to coffee, and climbing interest rates.
Imagine building a business for 20 years, finally deciding to sell it, and then discovering the government is taking up to 47% of everything you made. That is not a hypothetical. That is what Australian small business owners are reading in the 2026 federal budget. And they have thoughts. Welcome to Federal Analysis. Anthony Albanese has been widely reimagined in AI-generated posts as a new business partner in Australian businesses, a viral trend born directly out of Labor's capital gains tax changes. Under the new policy, the removal of the long-standing 50% CGT discount could see high-performing business owners taxed up to 47% when selling their companies. So yes, the internet has had opinions, and it has expressed them with memes. Now here is the policy context, because this matters. The government is replacing the 50% capital gains tax discount with a discount based on inflation and introducing a minimum 30% tax on gains from the 1st of July 2027. The stated intent is to ensure investors only pay tax on their real capital gain. That is the government's framing. Fairer taxation on genuine profits, not inflation. Reasonable people can engage with that argument. But the backlash has been substantial. Australian founders under 40 launched an open letter to the Prime Minister urging the government to rethink the changes, arguing the overhaul risks discouraging exactly the businesses Labor says it wants to support. Some economists have raised concerns that without carve-outs for startups and venture capital, the changes could push entrepreneurship and investment offshore. The government has said it will consult the tech and startup sector on how the reforms interact with early-stage business incentives, which suggests some flexibility may still be on the table. And the polls are reflecting the mood. A Resolve political monitor found Labor's primary vote fell 3 percentage points to 29%, while a separate poll found 47% of voters believe the budget will be bad for the economy. The same Resolve poll shows Angus Taylor now leading Anthony Albanese as preferred Prime Minister, 33-30. That is a genuine shift, the kind that gets circled in red in every Labor strategy meeting. Albanese himself conceded the CGT reform is difficult, while a poll found 51% of people said they were less likely to trust the government as a result of its tax changes. When the Prime Minister uses the word difficult about his own policy, you know the internal numbers are not comfortable reading. The budget is passed. The policies are in motion. The question now is whether the government adjusts on the margins, particularly for startups, or holds the full line and absorbs the political cost. That is the story. Subscribe to Federal Analysis for daily breakdowns of what is actually shifting in Australian politics, and drop a comment below. Do you think the CGT changes are fair reform or a miscalculation? We are reading every single one.